The enemy, I call him. I know him too well, mate. I've dealt with him many years. I know how he operates. I remember back when I was really young, I had traits of being an addict. Like I remember when I first kind of started smoking, I was only 10. Like I bought a pack of 10 fags and I literally chain smoked all 10 one after each other in like 10 minutes until I was ill on the floor. I started getting into harder drugs, 16, 17. I lived my life from 16 up until, you know, I quit drinking like a zombie. You know what I mean? I was either intoxicated or I come down. I was never truly me. It's like I was putting a mask on when I drank or took drugs. I was like witty and funny. So I needed that to kind of be myself. In AA they call it the blind spot. What it'll do is block your mind from seeing the consequences. 6 months clean, but I'd always dip my toe back in. You know, I could be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I had no mental defence against picking up a first drink. I call him the enemy, the devil in my mind. It's like a force within me. It will trick me into believing it's a good idea. Healing's hard. The first 6 months of when I put the drink down, it was cloud 9, bro. But then I just declined, mate. Like my mental health just went, tried to face my demons, and I had nothing to fill the void. I could have quite easily picked the drink back up. A lot of people fail before they get to a year of sobriety because they can't face themselves. And I remember this one day said to me, mate, it's mad because my whole life externally is no different than it was. It's just the world's got a new me, you know what I mean? It's got a stronger me because my life was no different. It was just, I was too strong for the problem. I know it's hard when you're stuck in that, but there's a power behind keeping going.
Hello, I'm Ed and I'd like to welcome you to our podcast series, Tackling It Together, brought to you by Little Blackbird, where we will be having open, honest and important conversations with some inspirational guests.
Hello and welcome back to the Little Blackbird Tackling It Together podcast, and we have got another conversation with Leigh Foley. How's it going, Leigh?
All good, mate, thanks for having me on.
Bit nervous?
A little bit, yeah, out of my comfort zone. Never done anything like this before, but here we are, let's do it.
Yeah, we'll be flying. So Leigh, you were recommended. We had Joe Leighs on a previous podcast. Joe said you need to have a chat with Leigh. He'll give you a good insight. Didn't tell us too much about your journey, but I'm really interested to see and to understand a little bit about you, your journey and your outlook on life now. Yeah,
so, yes, well, my name's Leigh. So, currently now, I'm a personal trainer, passed just before Christmas, so building my passions and my dreams. I'm a father, little young baby, little Lara. She's to be 3 this year. Going back in my life, I was suffering with drug addiction, depression, anxiety, things like that, which have kind of drove me to this point where I'm at now, which is something I've overcome. So yeah, I've got a bit of a colourful story going back, but you know, I've never really shared it with anyone before, really, only people personally. So out my comfort zone here, but you know, I feel the purpose of it is to inspire others. So
yeah, mate, we hear that all the time. We just had someone on before said I didn't really want to come, but I know it's a conversation that we need to have. So pushing our comfort zones are key, aren't they? We need to be doing it. So why did you say yes? Where's the opportunity for you, do you think, in this conversation?
Well, obviously I like what you do. As your podcast, it's about normal day-to-day men who have been through difficult times and sharing their story. Like, I know that inspires people. Me being in a position at one point in my life where I've seen someone where, you know, who inspired me to get to where he is. So yeah, if it can inspire one person out of 1 million people, then it's job done, isn't it? So yeah.
So you're going to give us many different perspectives in this conversation, from drug addiction, sobriety, challenges, turning points of your daughter. I know there's a few little points that have totally changed things around for you. So right, you're in the chair. Where do we want to start?
Probably go back to, you know, I won't go deep into my childhood. I won't, you know, but I'll go back to early, you know, late teens when I started getting into drugs and things. I'd probably like to go into, like, you know, I watched on your last podcast, what was the fella's name again? Daryl, yeah. Well, he was, you know, the first question you asked him was it, you know, was you masking an issue? Or, you know, and he said he had a good upbringing and things, and I think mine was a bit of both. Because growing up, I was a very quiet kid and I was very unconfident, and I was kind of like bullied for that a little bit in a way. And I had no confidence at all. Like, You know, I remember at a young age, I used to get anxiety and fearful, you know, even like kind of going places and things. It's just the way I was. But as I got through life, you know, it used to hold me back. And then in terms of being an addict, something I never knew up until a couple of years ago, or something I couldn't accept actually. Like, I remember back when I was really young, I had traits of being an addict, and also made sense later in life. Like, I remember when I first kind of started smoking, I was only 10. Yeah. Like, I bought a pack of 10 fags, and I literally chain smoked all 10 one after each other in like 10 minutes until I was ill on the floor. I was like all or nothing. You know, things like that. And like even growing up, and you know, when I started smoking weed, it was like I would just smoke weed until I was like literally ill. So that definitely had traits and things like that. But when I was early, you know, I started getting into harder drugs, 16, 17, into like, you know, ecstasy and that. I was so unaware at the time. Like, a lot went on in my life prior to that with, you know, my parents and things. And I was definitely masking something because I was always out. I could always act out, you know. It's like I was putting a mask on when I drank or took drugs. I was like witty and funny. So I needed that to kind of be myself, if that makes sense. So I kind of got addicted to that. And I remember, like, you know, if I weren't drinking, I wasn't confident. So I kind of drank just so I can just fit in. Do you know what I mean? And like, you know, and as I carried on drinking, it become like I was a binger me, a binge drinker. Like, it wasn't something I'd done every day. It was something, once I put that drink in me, I could not stop, you know. And that just spiraled all through my 20s. Like, it got worse. Like, you know, it got to the point where it would be 3, 4, 5 days, you know what I mean? I'd be taking all kinds of drugs. And even at the time then, there was no, like, consideration of quitting, you know. I thought that was it. There was no way out anyway as well, you know, because every person I knew was taking drugs. So no matter where I turned to, it was there in front of my face. And with me being an addict, like, you know, I couldn't say no to it, you know. So yeah, and that went on for quite a few years. But, you know, and I was very, you know, I was either high, you know, or low when I was on a come down. So when I was on a come down, I was very depressed. Like, I was a lot different to other people who drank. Like, they could drink, go out, wake up the next day, crack on. I would just be riddled with anxiety, depression, guilt and shame. Like, my problems and my, you know, inner trauma, which I was using alcohol as a solution to mask it, would come out on a come down. I used to just hate myself, bro. Like, it was, you know, it was horrible. And it was only one, with the girl I was with at the time, she had to put up with that because no one else seen that side of me. It was just, yeah, it was a vicious cycle for years. Like,
it's interesting you were saying there, because you talked about an addictive personality. Now you can look back and see there was traits, but there was traits of my addictive personality. Do you think that's something that was, you know, you talk about nature and nurture. Do you think that's something that you always had, that addictive personality, or do you think that was a result of those kind of traumas that you maybe experienced?
It's hard to say, really, like, you know, because they say addiction can be progressive. You know, I believe some people are born with it a little bit as well, but, you know, it's a progressive kind of thing as well. But I think, as I said before, I think it was both things. I was definitely masking my insecurities and my fears and you know, myself. Like, I used to hate myself, and I was so unconfident. It was just like, and it was masking that, you know. I was dead, like, you know, with girls and things like that. I was just like dead unconfident unless I was having a drink down me or a drug. I was the, you know, class clown. I was the, you know, very well-liked, popular person, but that was only through drink, mate. It was all fake. You know what I mean? I lived my life from fucking 16 up until, you know, I quit drinking like a zombie. You know what I mean? I was either intoxicated with my mind altered through a substance, or either that, or I was on a come down. Again, my mind's altered through, like, you know, guilt and shame and things like that. I was never truly me, never really sat with myself, who, you know. And I remember back when I'd stay in for a few weeks, I couldn't sit with myself. I remember I'd always have to keep moving and keep busy. I couldn't spend 5 minutes sat in one place on my own because I'd feel all these emotions and loneliness and sadness and like, I'd have to keep moving. You know what I mean? Like, I'd have to, you know, I'd always have to be around people and things like that. And at the time, I didn't really kind of really wasn't very aware of that. But now looking back, I thought, wow, you know, there was definitely something there that, you know, so yeah.
And how do you feel now? I know you're saying you're kind of 40 next week, or you're coming up to the big 4-0. Do you feel at peace with yourself now?
Yeah, I do, mate. I've had to, you know, since it's been 2.5 years off it now, sober.
Wow.
My last line, 2 o'clock in the morning, the 26th of July, 22. And I had to, you know, that this is how I know I can tell you the story now and say, look, I was masking something serious through drink, because I went into, you know, I've only just come out of it, if you like, through, you know, I had to really do some deep healing. Like, as I got through, this is, you know, from 16 up 12 years, 28, I was like, I'd had enough, mate. Like, I was so unfit, bro. It was like, I'd only walk up the stairs and I'd be blowing up my ass. I'd put weight on. I felt horrible. Like, all I'd done is take drugs and eat shit and just, you know, and like, I was like, I need to make change, you know what I mean? I need to start, and I started one of my friends at the time was a boxer, and he used to try and drive me on, come on, come and get fit. And I remember, I thought, right, I'm going to go for a run. Like, this was my first one, I can never forget it. I put a pair of running trainers on, and there's a road in Ellesmere Port called Prinny Road, and I come out onto there from where he lived at the time, and I ran down Prinny Road. I'd done half a mile, mate. I swear down, I felt, honestly, I felt I was going to die. It was like my chest went tight and I couldn't breathe. Literally half a mile, mate, and I threw up. This guy literally threw up on the floor and walked the rest of the way. And it was like, that was the beginning of my fitness journey. But every time I'd done it, it was torture, but I felt so good after it. And when I started putting healthy food in my body, it was like my body was craving it. Like, it was like I could feel it nourishing me. I could feel it like making me feel better. And like every run, the endorphins flow, and I got addicted to it, like, you know, like, because I felt that shit for so long, because it was through drugs and healthy, you know, living so unhealthy. This like fitness and that like bit of healthy eating, like, was like, I was thriving off it, like, you know, it was making me like feel so good in myself, something I'd never felt, you know.
So that gave you the opposite to the come downs, didn't it?
Yeah.
Where you'd feel with the drugs, or you'd be in that
Yeah,
cycle,
it was like a dopamine hit, if you like, you know what I mean? It was a natural high, you know, but again, I got addicted to that, you know what I mean? Like, but it was in a good way. And I remember I'd made the decision, like, I was in a lot of debt at the time, like, through cocaine and things. I said, right, I'm done. And I'd done 6 months clean, the longest I'd done since I started drinking. Paid all my debts off. I got really fit at the time as well. But I'd always dip my toe back in. You know, I could be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I had no mental defence against picking up a first drink.
Yeah.
What I had to do is stay away. I couldn't go to social occasions. I couldn't be around people. I had to just hibernate to stay off it.
Yeah.
But if I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that drink's in front of me, like that I call him the enemy, the devil in my mind, it's like a force within me. It's like, will trick me into believing it's a good idea. Do you know what I mean? Like, it'll give me all these scenarios in my mind and say reasons why it's good. They call it in AA they call it the blind spot.
Right.
Like, and it will, you know, come on, you've been off it 6 months. Let's, you know, just have one, you'll be fine. You know, you're not an addict. Just have one and go home. You know what I mean? But what it'll do is block your mind from seeing the consequences. So for me, the consequences would be that severe depression, that empty feeling, that guilt and shame, and you know, the anxiety. That's what comes with it. But in that moment, before that drink, I pick it up, I can't see that, because the enemy in my mind's making me believe it's a good idea.
Right.
One drink and that'll be it, and I'm straight back to square one.
Wow.
So at the time I was fit. I got myself looking better. Everyone was like, look at Leigh, you know, but I was still dipping my toe in. And like, you know, I could only have one bevy and I'd be up for 2 days again. You know what I mean? And then from that point, I got like, I think it was 29. The girl I was with at the time, I was with her from like 18, like, you know, she was still enjoying herself, and we took separate paths. I took a path of getting away from it, and she were willing to give it up for me, and I was willing to carry on doing it for her, kind of thing. But we split up, but she put up a lot with me, mate, you know, because the way I was a very troubled boy, mate, you know what I mean? I had a lot of issues, man. Looking back now, it was very hard to be around, you know, not when I was on it, like, but on the come down, it was like, I was low, I was either here, or like rock bottom, like, you know, And I wouldn't like to be around me then, like now, because it just make you feel depressed, wouldn't it? You know. So we split up, and that like kind of really, you know, I was the only person that I'd been with her since I was 18. You know what I mean? Like it destroyed me. Like, you know, I was very heartbroken. And 4 weeks after we split up, my mum passed away suddenly. So it was like double whammy. It was like two things at once. And even then as well, like it's something I've never really spoke about this one. Like when I found out, I was on a bender. You know what I mean?
Right.
I got the phone call and I was up. Like, you know, 12 o'clock in the day. I'd been up since the night before. That was a very, very low point for me, that like. So then, you know, on the grounds of people's opinion of me from how I used to be, everyone just thought that would just tip me over the edge. You know, this is it, he's done now, you know what I mean? Because I was already destroyed from the breakup, you know. And then my mum died, and like it was like two things at once. But it was something that just like a big initiation for me, you know. It was a part of my life where I had to really kind of dig deep. I remember just looking in the mirror and shouting at myself, come on, you know, man, you can get through this. I was destroyed, mate. It was work, next level, like, you know, heartache. But it just drove me to keep moving forward, and it made me drive me even further into fitness. I remember I went to the doctors because of the anxiety and the pain and things, like I was carrying a brick here. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was like, it was horrible, mate, and like it would create, like my mind was just chaotic with so many thoughts, and it was just too much to handle, you know. And he was about to give me tablets, and I said to him, every time I go for a run, it makes me feel better. And he went, screwed up the thing. He was, listen, son, you keep doing what you're doing, and when you're feeling even worse, go running even harder. And that's what I did. It stuck in my mind, that. So every time I felt, you know, this pain would come on, I would just put my runners on and go running and just drift away from the world, man. Yeah. And it kind of, when I get back, I get a shower and it'd be easy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, that was something that, you know, and it kind of made me into a man, that, you know what I mean? That heartache, that initiation, like, it shaped me up, like, give me strength, you know what I mean? To keep going.
Was there any, I know with AA, was there any kind of spiritual angle there in losing your mum? And the fact that gave you strength? You mentioned it as an initiation.
Yeah, well, for me, I've always kind of believed in a higher power, like, even back when my 20s, like, on them moments when I'd wake up in that depression on my own, I used to pray then, God, please get me out of this horrible life, you know, out of this, it was, you know, chaotic, like, life that I'm in. I can't find a way out, and there's no way out, man, you know what I mean? Everywhere I turned, and there's no role model, there was nothing. It was just me, you know what I mean? And everywhere I went to this, I went to family, they're all doing the same thing. So I used to pray a lot then. So my mum died, and I carried my fitness level, we carried me fitted. In AA, they call it the log list. It's like, it's something that you hold on to. So it's like you're in water, yeah, and you're drowning, and you've got logs. So logs can represent kind of, you know, things that you do to try and stop you from getting on it, kind of thing. So for me, it was fitness. Other people, it could be, you know, moving out away, or kind of changing the friends and things like that, or going meetings, you know, AA meetings. It's
like the support
mechanism. So you're using these logs to keep your head above the water, to, you know, to keep you off it, but they won't keep you sober. Eventually the logs will sink and you'll fall, and that was one thing I learned in when I went to AA that really resonated with me, because I was using fitness as a mechanism to keep me away from things, but I didn't have that mental defence to picking up a first drink. So like, I could be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you know, the fitness and all these things that, you know, would eventually fail me, and I would always dip back in, and when I did, it would be straight back to a bender. I could be months off it. I'd have one drink and I'd be up Friday till Monday morning. It was something like, so it was a spiritual problem, you know what I mean? Rather than kind of, But it was something that, again, I think it was around lockdown. I was working, I was on the railways, and I was a key worker, and I was working in London, so I was travelling back and to. And around that time, I ended up going off the rails. Like, I was coming back, and I was just went, like, you know, all these years from the age of 28, like I said before, when I started fitness, it was kind of, the fitness kept me, like, you know, I could do 3 months about it, but though, you know, and then it was few and far between rather than every weekend. But this period of time, I'd done 10 weeks every weekend, Friday till Sunday, to the point where I was just broken. And then I went to AA, walked in the meetings of AA. And then obviously I started learning a lot about that, you know. Yeah. And obviously based on when I've told them my story, into their eyes, I'm an addict. But to me, I'm not an addict, you know what I mean? That was my attitude. For me, an addict's someone who's dependent on it, you know, someone who's on, you know, heroin and things like that, or, you know, the hardcore, they're going out, you know, but it's not, there's all different types of addicts, you know what I mean? You've got like...
So when did you accept that?
I accepted that, like, well, I'll say that, so basically I was in AA for like, I was 6 months, and then I just left, do you know what I mean? And then I went back to it, and ended up on a massive bender, like, you know what I mean, for about a year. And then I've got my little girl now, so her mum's pregnant, end of 2021. While she was pregnant, I was out on benders and things like that. Like, you know, and I used to be, like, it's such a selfish disease as well, you know, you think the world's against you, but you don't realise what you're doing to people, you know what I mean? And yeah, so I was still using, but what I was telling myself, when the baby's born, I'll stop. Do you know what I mean? That was a promise I made myself, like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it went on, and I was still out using, and then the baby was 3 weeks old. I dropped her off on the Sunday, and I said, right, I'm going to have a baby, so I'll have one. So, you know, that's what I told myself, like I always did. I'd never once planned a bender, you know what I mean? I'd never plan it. It was always just happen. And, you know, at that moment, if you like hooked a lie detector to me and said, will you go for one bevy? And I answered it, I'd pass it, because I was so like fully adamant like that, you know, I was going for one. But for me, that one drink is deadly. So to an addict, the first drink is deadly.
Yeah.
That is the most thing you got to avoid, is picking up that first drink. You know what I mean? Because for an addict, it's deadly. As soon as you put that in your body, it sets something off and you crave more. Like for me, I was a binger, like I was hardcore, like I wouldn't stop. So dropped it off, went out, had a few bevies, ended up getting on the coke, and then like, for me, I was one of them people, I was so good at hiding it as well. Do you know what I mean? I've had recently a lot of people come up to me and say, well, I didn't think you were an addict because you didn't know, mate. You know, I had this status of being this fitness fanatic, but, you know, I used to just, but no one knew that, you know, I'd go out and have a drink and everyone thought I was going home just to go to bed, like everyone else, but I'd go home and get coke posted through my letterbox, and I'd sit on my own for 3 days, you know what I mean? So basically, yeah, that was the case that night anyway. So, you know, and my daughter was a couple of weeks old, everyone went home, I went home and just sniffed coke on my own. I remember this was the trigger moment for me, like, I was just sat, you know, I was probably up a day or something, I had like a big pile, I was just, you know, going through it like, and I remember I went down to sniff a line and I looked to the left, mate, and I seen my daughter's bottles on the side, and it was like, I could feel the anxiety thinking of it now, mate, and it was like, the big, you know, like a light bulb moment, like a biggest realisation I've ever had. I went, wow, like, what am I doing? You know, as I went down, I've got a daughter, like, and I just seen them, and it triggered something in me, bro. In that moment, something was like, bang, it was like God, like, there we go. And I was like, not even my little daughter, yeah, who I love with every inch of my soul. I am so a lovable person, so passionate, mate. And I love her more than anything in the world. Not even her can keep me sober. Look at me now. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that it was like, that was the biggest realisation for me, mate. And then that was it. I woke up and said, I'm an addict, like, you know what I mean? I went to AA, I was told, and I couldn't accept it. And now I had this beautiful little girl in my life now. Even she can't keep me sober. Like, you know, and that was the big realisation for me, mate. And like, I carried on anyway with that bender. I just put that to the back of my mind. And I remember sniffing my last line, 2 a.m. in the morning. And the lad who was with, like, I was like, I'm done. And he's like, oh, yeah, that old chestnut, like, you always say it in a party, I'm not doing it anymore, you know what I mean? But it really was, bro. It really was. And even on that moment, I got on my phone, I reached out to a girl from local area. She helps people in AA, CA, Cocaine Anonymous. So then I want to come and meet him. And then I ended up going to a meeting. I finished 2 a.m. Tuesday morning. I went to a meeting on the Wednesday. And like, I knew what I had to do because I'd had a bit of experience in CA, in AA. So I knew I needed a sponsor. I know how important the 12 steps of recovery are. And I walked out of the meeting with that sponsor, mate. Walked in, got a sponsor, and I started my steps on that following Sunday.
Oh, wow.
That's how quick it was, mate. And I've not had a drink since, like.
And what keeps you level now? What keeps you focused and keeps you happy in yourself?
Fitness, bro. Like that, but I don't need that either. Like I used to need it to keep me sane. I can go home now and I can sit in peace of mind on the couch and lie there on my own and put my feet up and just lie there in peace, bro. It's a nice feeling, man. I've not been able to ever do that. You know what I mean? You know, and it's took a lot of hard work, a lot of dark times, man. A lot of, you know, failing a million times over, trying, like, you know, I had a 20-year drinking and drug career, mate, you know what I mean? Like, and a lot of that time, I was trying to stop. So, you know, even like at times, like I said before, I couldn't sit, you know, I remember that, like, when I was sober, and I do like a couple of months in, I couldn't sit in one place with me. I couldn't sit on, like, I was so restless. Like, I'd sit on my own, I'd avoid myself. I'd have to be busy or moving, or I'd go for a run or go and see family, or I couldn't literally sit on my own and sit with self because I didn't like what I felt. So I ran away from it. And that's even when I was on, you know, clean, I got, you know.
So what does the next 10 years look like, knowing what you know from 18, 20 to the start of, you know, your days with drugs and that lifestyle? What are you taking into your 40s that's going to enhance your life, your daughter's life, and also the lives of the people that you help every day through your PCing?
Just strength, bro. It's just strength, like, because it's a very touchy subject, this one with me, because, like, I've gained so much mental resilience and so much healing from what's happened after the first 6 months of when I put the drink down was like, it was cloud nine, bro. It was amazing. Like, you know, I was like, I'm sober and all that. I was the best dad. But then I just declined, mate. Like, my mental health just went, woof, like, and that's it. I had nothing to fill a void. I had no drink and nothing. So I had to face my demons, bro, you know what I mean? So I was slipped into severe depression, like, and it was even worse than the last time, like, it was hell, bro, honestly. It's horrible. I was thinking about the other day what to say to you today, and it was like, you know, brought tears to my eye because I was living in hell, mate, you know what I mean? As soon as I opened my eyes, mate, I was like, the devil was on me. Like, you know, I was like, it was just next level depression, mate, and anxiety, and yeah, it was a very, very dark time. And I had nothing to fill the void. I could have quite easily picked the drink back up, and that's why a lot of people fail, because when they face this part, because I used to do like 5-6 months, and then I'd end up drinking again. I think once you get beyond the 6 months, 7, 8, 9, 10 to a year, organically, without any substance, that's when you are going to actually having to face demons, and that's where we need support systems in place at that point to help people recover, rather than, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people fail before they get to a year of sobriety because they can't face themselves. And that, you know, I was lucky enough to get myself through that. Because I was living in hell, mate. And like, the only two things I can remember, just as soon as I opened my eyes, my mind, it's like the devil was living in my mind, mate. And it was like, I could be one thought away from hell, from a week in bed. You know, I'd plant the seed of a negative thought, and it would co-create and manifest into more than it'd be a bodily issue. It'd be increase of anxiety. It was horrible. Nothing, you know, no one actually could understand the level I was under, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to tell people, but they couldn't understand. You know, it was something no one could actually do for me. It's something I had to figure a way out myself. Me against me, you know what I mean? So I had to really dig deep and battle through that. And like, you know, the only things that I turned up to do in them moments was either one, to pick my daughter up, never once let her down, and two, training. And that was, every time I went to training, I pushed myself and my body through like very, very hard workouts because that was like let it out. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to speak about this, like, you know what I mean? And it was severe, mate, you know what I mean? And like, I feel lucky to be here, bro. Like,
Yeah, but you do.
I attempted to try and take my own life, you know, like twice, you know what I mean? But in that moment, I just got images of my little girl.
Yeah.
Like, what would she think growing up, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's calling my dad's not here, or my dad was weak, he let himself go, left me behind, all these thoughts come through into my mind, you know what I mean? But I was stuck in it, like, I had nowhere to go. I couldn't do that, because I couldn't leave my girl behind, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm stuck in it, you know what I mean? I've got to fight, I've just got to fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I fight against it, like, you know what I mean? It's like, so that's all I did, mate. I just wake up, and I'd wake out of bed, and no matter how I felt, go to the gym, get them kettlebells, bro, and I'll just push myself, like, right to the trenches, mate, and I'll just and I'd finish that workout, I'd go home, and go straight back to bed, but it'd keep my head above the water that day, a little bit, and I'd slip back in, but then at the end of it, I'd think, fucking, I'd go, like, you know, celebrate the win, pat myself on the back. I've literally just got up out of severe anxiety when I'm bedbound by it, and just went to the gym and pushed my body through that. And I started kind of just pushing me, you know, giving myself a little win, celebrate the win every day. Some days I failed, but I kept doing it. But over time, I just started getting a bit more resilient, like, to me problems. And it was like I was dealing with, like, it was like a devil in my mind, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it was so many different things. It was like around me, my life was just folding away. Like, everything was just going wrong. Like, money issues, everything. It was like, all of it was mounting up, the pressure, and the pressure of being a dad and everything. It was like, and it was just, I had loads of debt. All these external things were just crushing me. You know what I mean? I felt isolated, and but I just got up and done that every day. And then when I had my little girl, it's like I took my depression hat off, put me dad hat on today. I'm just going to be a dad today. You know what I mean? I'll just put that hat on, that status, and I could just get through it while she was there. There was times as well where, you know, it'd get too much. It's only a couple of weeks old, do you know what I mean? Like, really young, like, I just have to put her down and go to the next room and just burst out crying. And then come back in, shake it off and move forward. But over time, mate, it was like I kind of just, by doing the hard workouts and just fighting against it, going against the grain, whatever it wants, you know, like, I just started building resilience, bro, like mental resilience, started becoming stronger. And I just, over time, I kind of just built up this strength within me, like some strength I never thought I had. You know what I mean? I thought I'd already been through initiations from previous when my mum died and things, but this was kind of, you know, next level, you know, it was twice as worse, if you like. And as I say, the only way out I thought at the time was to take my life, but I couldn't do that because I couldn't leave all Ireland behind, you know what I mean? And like, that was the thought, how, you know, I couldn't do it, so I had to just sit and fight, mate, and I was in it, I'm stuck in this, and like, it was, but then in the end, I just kind of become too strong for my problems, you know what I mean? And then it comes to a point where I was happy again, and I remember this once I said to me, mate, it's mad because my whole life externally is no different than it was. It's just the world's got a new me, you know what I mean? It's got a stronger me. You know, I can handle my problems on, you know, it's an inner problem. It's not what's happening around me. I'm blaming it on that. And it's just the problems inside me, because my life was no different, but it was just, I was too strong for my problems.
Yeah. Just take a beat now and try and, so you've just, you know, beautifully articulated from where you were to all the challenges, but how do you feel now, reflecting back on the fact that you came through that internal battle?
I feel proud of myself, mate, and I'll always say it, like that little girl of mine, her being born into existence just helped me level up, bro. Like, I wouldn't have got through that without having her. I wouldn't have stopped drinking without her. Another one, which is probably the hardest addiction to break, was vaping. Again, like, I was the addictive personality. That thing never left my mouth, mate. It's like it was part of my identity, especially when I was struggling. And I quit that, you know, because I know it wasn't bad, you know, and all these things, just her being born helped me overcome all these things. I've got my little girl to thank so much for that, you know, and she didn't even realise, you know what I mean? And like, I'm just proud to get through. I'm lucky to get through it as well, mate, because I know a lot of people took their lives through this, and I feel like I know how people, why they do it.
Because you've been there.
Because I've been there, mate, and I feel like that I would have been no different to how they felt in that moment. Do you know what I mean? That's why I was saying to you before here, I feel like God's given me a second chance into life, bro. Give me there you go, Leigh, you've had all this pain. Here's your second chance, like, and I feel lucky, mate, you know what I mean? I feel blessed to have been given that. Again, as well, as I say again, through AA, you know, the whole method behind it with the 12 steps is using a higher power, using God. And that was a kind of a little stepping stone for me to grow my faith, because all them times I was lying in bed, severe depression and anxiety and like wanting to just not even be here. I prayed, mate. That's all I did, mate. That's all I could do. You know what I mean? Lord, please help me. Just help me through this. Just help me get through it. Not for me, for my girl. And I just pray, and my faith grew, and I attend church and things like that. Like, you know, I don't actually go to the AA anymore. I don't, you know. But it's helped me so much doing them 12 steps. Like, helped me so much. But now I go to church and my faith's very, you know, I've got faith in God, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I wouldn't have got through it without having that.
I think you've got that unique perspective that you've been on that brink, you know, you've been in that position where you've had to battle that internal thought of, you know, I've had enough. So if we strip that back now, and if you think of, if you were to give someone a bit of advice who was in that state of mind where they're struggling to see the light at the end of the tunnel, what advice would you give them?
In terms of someone who was an addict, or
addict, struggling with mental health, anyone who's in that rut of they can't change their behaviour?
Look, think of your why you're here, you know what I mean? Think of your kids if you've got kids. Think of these things, keep going, like, you know, there's a power behind it, bro. Like, you've got the power of now, and these things are power of keep going. Do you know what I mean? You will be rewarded, man. Like, you know, find a support system. You know, if you're stuck in drug addiction, go to AA, do the 12 steps of recovery. It's all a process. It doesn't happen overnight, you know what I mean? Go to the gym, get yourself fit, strong and healthy, man. Surround yourself with people. There's a way out, like, you know what I mean? I know it's hard when you're stuck in that, but there is a way out. You've just got to keep going. Yeah. There's a power behind keeping going. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, just wake up and get your shit done and try your best. You know, reach out to me or anyone. Even, you know, for me, going to meetings helps so much because, you know, you're understood. Like, you know, you're not judged for being an addict, you know, or anything like that. Or, you know, and even the 12 steps as well, you know, it's more than just getting you sober. It's to get you ready to handle life. You know what I mean? Because you're always masking something, and drink and drugs is most of the time a solution to your problems. So it helps you be able to just, it's like a therapy. It's like therapy, you know what I mean? Like, for me, you know, without that, having that in place, I probably wouldn't have got through it.
And do you think there's a link, you know, I look out there, I always played rugby from an early age, but do you think there's a link between exercise, high intensity exercise, whether it's kettlebells or HIIT classes or whatever? Do you think that helps keep your resilience on point? Do you think it helps develop your resilience, your ability to get up and keep going?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Like, knowing, like, now, especially now, doing my kettlebell, like, I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow to hold the class, and I train with them. And so I'm leading by example. So I think hard work helps build you into a man. It's like adversity builds character. Like, you know, anything that's hard, anything you push your body through, that puts your body under stress, makes you stronger. Do you know what I mean? It's a fact of life. It's acute stress, isn't it? You know what I mean? You've got, like, complex stress, but, you know, but acute stress is where you're pushing, like, say, cold water therapy and things like that. Like, you're pushing your body through intense. It makes you stronger mentally, physically, everything. Like, it's definitely, for me, on a personal level, like, without doing what I was doing, it wasn't even just kettlebells, it was any sort of hard training. Like, it helped me get through it, and it gave me mental strength. Like, when I go to a workout now, I've got that extra push through the trenches. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can push myself hard. I'm not saying fitness is going to cure your issues, but I'll tell you one thing, it's going to help with it. Especially someone who's in sobriety. Like, the best thing you can do is get into fitness. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, if you're an addict, you've got, like, addictive personality. So if you get stuck into training, it releases endorphins and you're getting fitter and stronger. It's the best thing. It's the best tool to run alongside you know,
Yeah.
kind of.
You know what, I love the fact that way in which you articulated that inner voice. There's nothing louder than your internal voice, is there?
No, 100%.
You refer to it as the devil voice.
The enemy, I call him.
The enemy.
I know him too well, mate. I've dealt with him many years, you know what I mean? I know how he operates. So even now, Christmas Day, for instance, the whole like occasion of Christmas, everywhere you go, everyone's drinking and enjoying themselves. And every Christmas, I just get myself in this state where I think, I hate myself. I think, why can't I just be like them? You know what I mean? I'm different, you know, I just want to drink and enjoy myself. And that's when the enemy gets in, just have one, you know, just drink, you'll be all right, you've done 2.5 years. And like, most of the time, most people fail on that. But I know how it works, you know what I mean? I think, nah, I'm all right. It's like everything in life as well, it's not just being an addict, it's that voice in your head who's telling you you're not good enough.
Yeah, yeah.
It's telling you you're not, you know, keep you fearful, keep you stuck.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I hold my faith in my heart, because, like, you know, I know that it's not true.
Yeah.
I know that voice is talking shit, like, and is lying to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're talking about limiting beliefs there.
Yeah, yeah.
Where 9 times out of 10 they're bullshit, but we just repeat them that much.
We repeat them, yeah. It's like conditioning. We're conditioned on it, subconscious. Was that probably one chance in life we were told that we weren't good enough. We sit on as a belief, don't we? And then it affects us through life. Do you know what I mean? You just got to unbelieve it. You know.
So tell us a little bit about your classes. Where do you train people in the local area?
Yeah,
How can they find you?
Yeah, I do 3 a week up to now in Ellesmere Port on the Whittle. I do it from a nice little gym called Prime for Health and Fitness. I do one on 6 a.m. Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Wednesday, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. We've got some really good people there, like, you know, there's a couple of ex-addicts there as well, quite influential people, so right. It's more of a support system. I've got a group chat as well, there's like 30, 40 people in there, like, and there's so much positivity going on, like, you know.
Brilliant.
We do a walk once a month, yeah, just as a community of us, and obviously alongside that I'm a PC as well, so now I'm building that as well. So I'm PCing people, and yeah, and I'm like, yeah, trying to build that as a kind of a career, you know. Yeah. Kind of, yeah, they obviously specialise in kettlebells, but do all kinds of different type of training and things like that, so, brilliant. Yeah, man. Yeah, something I just absolutely, I can just do it, I can talk about health and fitness all day long, you know what I mean, without being bored.
Yeah, but what you've got, Leigh, there's a why beneath that. You know, you speak to loads of people who love health and fitness, but you can see that you've got a relationship with health and fitness.
Oh, mate,
it's unlocked something.
It's unlocked. I owe my life, if you like. I owe my daughter my life, and I owe obviously fitness, because that was the only two things that got me through that. You know what I mean? I'll always. It's just how it makes me feel. How it makes you know. For me, it's not about how I look; it's how I feel. You know what I mean? It makes me feel good in myself. You know, feeling strong and yeah, it's part of my identity. So. Like I say, yeah, it's behind my training and helping people. I passionately, like, have compassion and empathy, and I really want people to win, like, you know, and that's what I want to do, and help people get fitter and stronger. Like, I'm PCing like a few lads, there's only 3 of them who've been doing it since before Christmas, and they're all thriving, you know what I mean, and pushing through hard workouts, and they're like, you can see how much it's benefiting them. I think, you know, it's working. Would it work for me? It worked for them, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, and what does that give you though? They're thriving. What does that tell you based on everything you've
purpose, bro. Like, purpose, mate. Like, I think we all need a purpose, don't we? And I think this is mine. Yeah. I feel like many years I felt unbalanced in life when I was out doing normal jobs. You know, the amount of jobs I've bounced between over the past couple of years. If I've been a taxi driver and I've worked on the railway, I'd start a job and then just like, I hate this. Like, I can't do it, mate. It's like something there saying you're meant to be doing something different, you know what I mean? So I've kind of like fluctuated from different jobs, but I know this is like, you know, it's my passion. It's not even a job for me. So I'm only at the beginning now, so I'm just hoping by the summer, like, it'll be full time, like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With a bit of luck, like, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, so, and obviously I want to grow the community side of things as well, because, do you know what I mean? And I have a system in place for people just to feel accepted, like, you know what I mean?
Well, if you think of that network, how many years experience have you got? You've got experience on addiction or life.
Exactly.
Or depression. You've got a perfect network of support.
It's mad because like if someone comes with me advice, I just feel like I've always got an answer for them because it's like something I've been through.
Well,
do you know what I mean? not everything like, but you know when you just know what to tell people. I think it's just a kind of bit of a gift as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of life experience in there, mate.
Yeah. So.
How you feeling about being 40?
Just beginning, bro. I feel like life's just beginning.
I'm 41 this year. So
oh yeah.
I've been there just coming up to 12
Yeah. 40, man, can't believe it. Spent my 20s, in chaos. My 30s was healing, and that, obviously now my 40s will be just enjoy it, like, you know what I mean?
It's interesting you say that. I can't relate to that, but this rugby culture that we have, we used to play rugby, but some of the drink and the alcohol, and I can't massively remember loads of my 20s. Yeah. It's a bit sketchy. A few knocks to the head probably playing out there. But I always said that those chaotic years, they were kind of the frantic years, the 20s. I always thought 30s were the building years where you would build, but actually I think your 30s are just about finding your identity. Maybe really sitting back and thinking, do I want that? And then I think your 40s are your building years, they're your real foundation.
I feel like that's, it's been in sync for me, that, like, because obviously 20 was just full of chaos and partying and drugs and depression. Like, 30s is where I started trying to find myself and find who I am, you know what I mean? Like, I took my path, and took a bit of a spiritual path as well. I've done plant medicines and all things like that. And obviously that was kind of, healing's hard, when you're going through healing, and it's people think it's all rainbows and butterflies. It's not. It's shadow work. You're going through you're going through your lessons and your trauma and things like that. So yeah, my 30s has definitely been that. So now I feel like at this point now, nearly 3 years sober, young baby, we're only 3.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good in myself. I can sit at home in peace of mind, or I can sit at home alone, without feeling lonely and sad and all these emotions that used to drive me to drink. I can just sit in peace of mind. It's just a nice feeling. I'm not going to sit here and say everything's great. I have bad days still. Yeah, I think I always will. The other week I kind of had a bad few days. Like, I think that's just part of life. You've got to ride the waves. Yeah. You know what I mean? It ain't always going to be great, but I'll tell you one thing, it's better than it was. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I've just got to take them, the rough and the smooth, if you like. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, you've been a breath of fresh air. The final thing we ask every guest is for your little Blackbird worm of wisdom, which is a bit of advice, guidance, maybe back to your 18-year-old self starting out on that journey. Well,
I always say, any young lad, like when you're growing up now and you're on the sesh and you're on the benders, and get out of it early, do your best, like, you can find the high you chase through, drinking drugs. You can find that through just being happy in life, you know what I mean? Crack it early and look at improving your health, your finances, your fitness, and get strong, and get out of it early, because I'm 40 next year. I'm only 2 years sober. I've spent all them years like a zombie, either intoxicated or on a come down. So it's a lot of years wasted. You know what I mean? If I could turn back the clocks, then I would have definitely done this earlier. But obviously that wasn't part of my soul path. So if you can learn from anything, learn from my mistakes. If you've got the ability to learn from other people, then, and take their advice, then good on you. Like, I'd say, get yourself sober, get yourself, get your physical health, get the gym, get strong, get a career behind you, and just be happy, mate, because there's a lot of, natural highs out there rather than chasing that high on drugs. Yeah. So that would be me.
Mate, it's been a pleasure.
Amazing.
Thanks so much for your time.
Anytime, bro.
Nailed it.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed Tackling It Together, brought to you by Little Blackbird. If you did, then please hit the subscribe button. Give us a follow on our socials, Little Blackbird Limited. Also, please give us a like and comments on any thoughts that you may have. Let's get these important topics out there and encourage some meaningful, authentic conversations. See you next time. Cheers, and remember, keep smiling.